Hi, my name is Garrick, and I'm a business broker with Transworld Business Advisors. And the two most common questions we get asked are, what is my business worth? And how long does it take to sell? We're going to dive into that first question right now. So, what is my business worth? The frustrating answer is that it depends. Not in a vague and mysterious way, but it depends on two things: how much real money your business makes and how risky it feels to the buyer. That's it. Today we want to break down the second part because that's where most people get confused. Let's talk about the multiple first, right? What is the multiple? The simplest way to understand a multiple is how many years of profit someone is willing to pay you up front. That's it. If your business makes $500,000 a year and the market says that it's a 3 times multiple, a buyer is basically saying, I'm willing to pay you 3 years worth of profit today in order to own your business. So, easy math, right? $500,000 profit business with a 3 multiple equals enterprise value of $1.5 million. And that's truly how a valuation works at its core. It's not magic. It's not magic math. It's just basic math. Why would usually a business is worth a range of multiples, right? It's not clear cut like a 3. It might be 2.7 and a 3.25, something like that. And this is where most business owners miss. It's that it's not random. Buyers don't spin a wheel and say, oh, well, let's just pick it, right? Oh, 3 times. Multiple is based on risk. And so the safer your business feels, the higher the multiple. The riskier it feels, the lower the multiple. And that's it. Buyers price fear. So we're going to look at 2 lemonade stands. The first one makes money consistently, has a team running it, repeat customers that are brought in on a regular, reliable process. The owner is, he's around or she's around, but they don't need to be around. It's predictable and it's stable. Someone would pay almost 4 times earnings for that type of business. Now we compare that with the second lemonade stand. Only makes money in the summer, so it's very seasonal. The owner wears every hat. Customers are, one customer is their repeat business, right? 60% of the revenue all comes from one customer. The books are a mess, maybe non-existent. You can't really tie anything out. All of a sudden, that's a very high risk business, right? This one may sell for maybe 2 times the earnings, right? The real cash that's coming into the business. Same profit, different multiple, substantially different multiple. Why is that? Again, it comes down to risk. So what raises the multiple? If you want a higher multiple, this is what buyers love: clean financials, reoccurring revenue, financials that actually match the tax returns, a strong management team, low owner dependency, and a diversified client base. Consistent growth, and in simple terms, the more your business runs like a machine, more like an actual business, and less as a hobby, the more that it's worth. Now on the flip side, your multiple is going to drop when you are the business, right? How many times do we see these small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, where their name is the actual business? We see this a lot in professional service firms, right? Where it's so-and-so and associates, or so-and-so and sons and moving company, or something like that, right? You put your name on that business, and all of a sudden, it's very difficult to step back away from that. All of the value, or a significant part of the value, is tied in with you. If that's the case, all of a sudden, when you do come to sell, there's going to be a lot more risk. The price is either going to suffer, or it's going to require you to stay on for years, no exaggeration, to ensure that transition happens seamlessly. So also, there's a chance that the revenue is inconsistent. Again, messy financials are a great way to kill a business value. Or you have one customer or client that is a significant part of the business. One of the businesses that we've worked with in the past, they had one client, no exaggeration, was 50% of the business. And that client was for sale. And all of a sudden, it was very, very challenging to sell that business. So another thing is if there's no documented systems. All of these things add up to uncertainty. Uncertainty equals risk, and therefore you get a lower valuation. Simple as that. So if we simplify the entire valuation process, we figure out the real earnings on a small business That's using a phrase called SDE, or seller discretionary earnings. Some people may have heard the term EBITDA. Seller discretionary earnings and EBITDA are very similar to the same concept, just they are applied to different sizes of business. Then we evaluate risk, which helps us determine a multiple. Multiply those two together, and that's your business valuation in a nutshell. It's not emotional. It's not what you feel is worth. Unfortunately, buyers are not going to give you some extra benefit or anything like that on the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into this. I'm a business owner. I have been a business owner. My family has been business owners. I fully empathize, viscerally empathize with the blood, sweat, tears, stress, late nights, early mornings, all of those things that come into being a business owner. I understand that there's a cost there. Unfortunately, that cost is a pay to play on having something worth selling. They are not going to pay you for what those emotional tolls. What they are going to pay is what kind of work actually went into it. So, math plus risk. Good news is risk can be reduced, which means that value can be increased. If you're thinking about selling within the next 1 to 3 years, frankly, we're not going to dive into this on this video real quick, but the average business takes 6 to 8 months. So if you are a year or less in selling, you need to be talking to an advisor and a broker immediately, because it's going to take a little bit of time to get your business ready to market, and then it's going to take 6 to 8 months to sell the business on average, and then there's going to be a transition period. So if you're a year away from selling, you're already behind the curve, really. We need to start talking today. You're 2 to 3 or maybe even 2 to 4 years away from selling. That is a great sweet spot to be, because it gives you the chance of actually making a difference on the value of your business, right? All of a sudden, now we can explore and we can say, this is what the business is worth today. And if we change these 3 to 5 things, this is what it could be worth earlier. Or excuse me, what it could be worth down the road. Earlier, we talked about the 2 lemonade stands having a difference of multiples between 2 to 4. One of them was worth twice what the other one is. That's not an exaggeration. True life story. I have 2 clients right now, same industry. One of them makes a bit more money on the gross revenue side, but they have systems and they have a team in place. Right now, there is a 24 times difference on the actual enterprise value. That's not an exaggeration. That is clear, cold cut math. And what's crazy, the one that's 24 times higher, we received multiple offers at that level. We're still struggling to find an offer at this level. 24 times is worth talking to someone about, talking to an expert. My background, as some of you may know, is in public accounting. Do not talk to your accountant about this. Find somebody who has actually sold businesses, marketed businesses, and is an expert in that field. Accountants are great at financials. Some of them are great at operations too. Most of them have never sold a business. Some of them never even ran a business. They're a good resource for certain things, but when it comes to implementing and knowing which levers to pull, find somebody who has valued businesses, sold businesses, and can help you get there. So we just need to understand what drives value. We need to have a chance to start early. The owners who prepare ahead of time almost always get paid more. And when I say almost always get paid more, I mean they always get paid more. They also have a higher likelihood of selling their business. Most of us have heard that first year in business, 80% of us are going to fail. Depending on which study we look at, over the next 5 or 10 years, again, depending on which study, 80% of us are going to fail there. What most of us don't know is that when the time comes to sell, on average, 80% of businesses will fail to sell. And that's because they've built lifestyle businesses, hobby type businesses, not system type businesses. If you have a little bit of time, 1 to 5 years before you think you're ready to sell, now is the time to start getting serious about building in those systems so that you have the higher likelihood of actually selling and selling for a price that makes sense. It's worth your time, it's worth your focus, it's worth talking to somebody about. If you want to know where your business stands right now and what you can do about it, we need to have a conversation. Not trying to put pressure on you, just clarity. And I understand, again, being a business owner is you're wearing all kinds of hats. You're always addressing what's on fire next. This is, again, if you're 1 to 3 years, 1 to 5 years away from selling, this is on fire. You just don't know it yet. We need to have a conversation.